Hi friends, Ryan here with Ryan's Candles and Crafts, and welcome to the next chapter of Jojo's story. Last time, lanterns drifted over Dune Peak Village while music threaded the square. Mojo's dance turned a crowd into a chorus, and Jojo, once content to hover at the edges, learned a few steps that made the road feel friendlier under his feet. At dawn, the golden bubble rose like a patient guide, the Sunrise Brew warmed his side, and two travelers, one bold, one careful, set out together with the festival at their backs and the sea somewhere ahead, the journey humming in their bones. Before we get started into the next chapter, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and click the notification bell to get notified on when we upload new videos. Don't forget to also leave a like and a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the story. Let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 7. Journeys and Promises. As they continued, peeling softly over the ridges, washing the path in workable light, Mojo walked like music remembered. Easy, balanced, not in a hurry, and Jojo matched his rhythm, aware of the steady weight of the satchel against his chest. The golden bubble glided just ahead, never urgent, never idle. Every few moments it paused as if to say, "Here, take a breath." The past behind them had taught Jojo to listen. He took that breath. They left the last of Dune Peak's village's gardens and stepped into a country of tawny grass, scattered juniper, and the occasional cedar holding its greens like a secret. The trail sloped, braided, then chose itself into a clean ribbon that led toward low hills. Somewhere far off, the sea laid a silver stream against the sky. Jojo could hear it as feeling more than a sound. He adjusted his strap, not from nerves, but from care. The ground suited him. It kept the cup safe. Mojo noticed without prying. "If your feet weren't already steady, the road would tell on you," he said with a half smile. "You walk like someone who keeps promises." "I try," Jojo said, surprised to find the answer felt true in his beak. The bubble pulsed once, as if it agreed. They reached a cedar grove that smelled faintly of resin and morning shade. Sunlight fell in long, pale bars through the branches. Mojo could not help it. He tested the earth with the pads of his toes, left, right, still, adding the tiniest shoulder to give the step its own name. Jojo tried it after him. The satchel did not sway. The cup remained upright. He didn't grin, but something near a grin lifted in his chest. "Good," Mojo said simply. "Your body learns while your mind argues. That's very useful." They walked on, and the country opened. Low slopes, shallow gullies, a scatter of stone. The path threaded through without drama, the way good roads do. After a time, Mojo spoke as if finishing a thought he'd been holding gently rather than dragging forward. "Pelican Beach City lies along this direction," he said. "Boardwalks, lanterns on the sand, and a hall with a sprung floor that gives a dancer a gift back every time you land. It's where the regional dance championship will be this year. I'm going there, Jojo. If I dance cleanly enough, if the judges hear what my feet are saying, I'll have a ticket to nationals." He had puffed himself up when he had said it, spoken with ambition. "Have you always known that you wanted to be a dancer?" Jojo asked. "Since I was small," Mojo answered. "I didn't know the word stage, but I knew what happened when music met movement. Fear lives in the same house as joy," he added lightly. "I invite fear to count for me while I dance. It keeps us both busy. 1, 2, 3, land. 1, 2, 3, breathe." A shallow stream fell across their way, stone to stone stepping, nothing dramatic, and Mojo hop-stepped through with a flick of a wing for balance. Jojo followed slowly, testing each rock before trusting it, keeping the satchel close. Halfway across, "Don't slip." A small waver. It sent a quick slosh against the lid. Jojo froze, heart in his throat. "Don't spill." He breathed. Mojo turned, not alarmed, just present. "That's it," Mojo said, gentle as a hand on the shoulder. "Let fear count the stones itself of naming them cliffs." Jojo finished crossing with careful feet and an easier jaw. On the far bank, he touched the satchel lightly. Heat answered. Steady, contained. With a sigh of relief, they moved on. The hills shouldered up and fell away in slow measures. On one rise, a traveling cart was parked in the shade of a fig tree. Flatbreads folded around spice seeds, water in glazed jugs, a neat little sign, honest food for honest travelers. They bought 2 breads and took a short break. They ate, sitting on a low stone wall while shadows of fig leaves quilted the dust. "Do you always travel alone?" Mojo asked, curious. "Mostly," Jojo said. "Short routes, familiar faces. If I wasn't delivering, I was at Cafe Perch. It's different, noticing the world in longer lines." Mojo nodded and took a bite of bread. Jojo chewed and tasted cumin and salt and the relief of shade. He glanced at the bubble, then toward distant water. "You'll go to Pelican Beach City after I deliver?" he said. "We're headed the same direction for now." "For now," Mojo said. "We'll walk the seam our paths share. After your delivery, I'll follow the music, and you'll follow whatever the light does next." The afternoon gathered its color. The path met a long slope of pale earth that was cut precisely into the side of it. Nothing dangerous, just a lesson in patience. Mojo took them with the economy of someone who knows exactly where the weight belongs. Jojo mirrored him. Left, right, still, place, and breath. The rhythm kept his mind from wandering into useless fear. At the top, a courteous windbreak of stacked stones offered the rest and view worth earning. The land stepped down toward the sea in great shallow terraces, some planted dark, some let to grass. Farther on, they sat with backs against the windbreak and let the horizon do what horizons do. Settle you without promising anything. Mojo told stories while a kettle he'd brought warmed over a small traveling flame. Mojo was mentioning the street musician of Pelican Beach City, who played rhythms on the railing so clean you couldn't tell where metal ended and music began. Jojo listened with ease. He had learned from being at Cafe Perch, where you let a story be itself instead of hurrying into a lesson. They camped there as evening softened everything. Jojo took out the small square of paper from Dune Peak Village. Safe arrival, honest heart. He held it in the moment before tucking it back in beside the cup. Heat pressed lightly against his wing through the satchel like a reassurance rather than a mystery. The bubble dimmed a shade, as lanterns politely do when stars take the room, and kept watch on a rock near their feet. They rose early the next morning because mornings belong to birds. The country shifted from hill to low ridge, then showed the sea more openly, wind carrying salt like a story the air loved telling. Crosswinds found them not much later. A narrow saddle where the land funneled air into a stubborn ribbon. Dust lifted, small stones tickled against the path. Mojo's feet learned the gust in 2 measures and showed Jojo how to ride it. Don't lean against it, lean with it. Let it finish the step it started. They moved through with shoulders low, chins tucked. A sudden harder gust shoved Jojo's side, more surprise than danger, and his talons slid half an inch. The satchel shifted, the lid answered with a warm tap. Don't spill. He let the fear count. 1, 2, 3, place. 1, 2, 3, breathe. And the gust passed. After a while, they paused. Not long, just long enough to drink and laugh at nothing in particular. The way travelers laugh when a trial is small enough to be friendly after the fact. Jojo realized he hadn't thought about turning back once today. Not because he was suddenly brave, but because each small problem had been answered by a small solution within reach. Courage, he thought, might be less a shout than a series of nods. By mid-afternoon, the path slipped into a narrow gulch where the walks kept a clear, cool shade. Their footsteps sounded nearer. Even the bubble seemed to respect the acoustics, hovering lower and glowing more of a hum than a blaze. A rope-lashed footpath crossed one dip, nothing like Rainfeather Bridge, but it moved under them enough to deserve attention. Mojo went first, weight in the ball of his claws. Jojo followed, slow and centered, wings resting lightly against the satchel. Midway, a memory tried to join with him, the schoolyard bridge and laughter laid over concern. But the present didn't make room for it. He stepped off onto solid earth and felt only the satisfaction of having done what needed doing. They made a simple camp where the gulch widened. Someone had been there recently. A ring of dark stones showed remnants of a fire. No storm near threatened. No test was being announced itself. They boiled water, split a flat bread that Mojo had tucked away. "Tell me about Cliffside," Mojo said after a while, head turned to show that he meant it. Jojo did, telling him all about Cafe Perch and Miss Brindle's way of making a morning brew, Mr. Tallow's raisins loaves, and the way his laughter seemed to lift the eaves. The old perch gate, feathers tucked into the moss, one of them his. Mojo listened intently, taking in all that Jojo had to offer. The moon rose full, bright enough to do small chores. Jojo lay down with the satchel across his chest. He watched the bubble a moment, the steady ember of it, and then slowly drifted to sleep. In the thin hour when sound travels twice as far, he woke to the wind speaking quietly to the grass and thought, "I am not the same bird who started at a bridge and waited for it to become someone else's problem." Dawn came brisk and clear. They packed quickly, and the road took them toward a stretch of salt brush and low dunes. The sea's voices turned from rumor to fact. You could hear wave ends collapsing and beginning again. The air tasted like a new kind of patience. Mojo pointed out a distant dark lines that might be a pier. The bubble approved of their interest with a polite brightening. Jojo's steps found the three-part rhythm without effort. Left, right, still. It quieted his mind and carried him past the small places where an old unease liked to gather. By late morning they came upon a wayside of wind-stunned pines leaning like old friends. Someone had strung a line between two trunks and left small lanterns to dry after rain, their paper skins ruffling like tired wings. A little note under the stone that read, "Light wants work. Take one if your road grows dark. Return one if your road grows bright." Mojo touched the paper with 2 fingers. Jojo looked at the bubble and knew they didn't need the lanterns yet. They left the note where it was and moved on. As the day took on heat, they found shade beneath the bluff where the rock made a natural porch. From here, the sea lay open as a promise, and the path angled toward it in a way that made sense. They ate the last of their figs from yesterday's pouch and drank, then sat with a quiet that felt earned. Mojo broke the silence. "When this delivery is done," he said, "and we stand in the place where your light wanted you, will you walk with me for the first few miles toward Pelican Beach City? I'll take you to a boardwalk that sings back when you step on it. Then I'll keep going, and you," he shrugged gently, "you'll know what to do." Jojo looked at the bubble, then at the sea, then at the satchel that had warmed his side since the village on the cliff. He didn't answer immediately because some answers deserve a chair and a cup before you invite them into the room. Finally he said, "I may for a bit, but I cannot promise as this journey has been longer than I originally thought." Mojo nodded and smiled. The bubble pulsed once and drifted forward, happy to be the one that didn't need words. Jojo and Mojo stood, shoulder to shoulder, and stepped back out onto the road. And that, friends, is where we leave Mojo and Jojo on their journey. I hope you guys are really enjoying this story. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. I'm really curious to see, well, and to read what you guys think of what's going on and what's going to happen next. We are actually getting pretty close to the end to the story. Now, we have maybe a few seconds left to talk about what's been going on in this video, and I will say that this was a lot of confetti. There was so much confetti that was happening in this video, and the eye was actually a lot of fun to do. I'm kind of surprised at how much I enjoyed doing the confetti of this. It made it more challenging to be able to do rather than doing big blocks of color, and it actually made it a lot easier to get everything to line up rather than with the blocking of colors, right? Those big sections. It really takes a lot to be able to get everything straight and where you want it to go and to fit and all that kind of stuff. So this was a lot of fun to be able to do in this section. The editing, though, on this video, not so much fun. There was a lot of editing that had to be done with this. But anyway, that's all we have for today. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to get notified when we upload videos. And if you want to become part of the story, if you want to help get involved with the creative process, go over to our Patreon page and sign up, and we will go ahead and get started with that. But that is it for now. As always, light a candle, pour a coffee, and let's keep crafting.